Hey everyone, Greg Getter here, and today I want to continue our discussion on pricing your products. Specifically, I want to talk about a tool you can use to do some pricing research before you have your product out and ready to go sell. I do think that putting your product out there and actually selling it to people is going to be the ultimate test of whether your pricing is appropriate, and I don't expect that the results from this experiment will be 100% correct. However, I think it's a starting point. So the model I want to talk about is called von Westendorp's price sensitivity meter. I know it's quite a mouthful, but I think it's a really good model for figuring out your pricing. And basically what it does is you're supposed to interview your target market about the product, and then you include 4 questions on pricing. So there are 4 very specific questions you can use to determine where you should set the price of the product. And I believe you're supposed to ask the questions in a particular order, so you're not conditioning the customer to think cheap first and then having a pretty low bar for what's too expensive. So once you've introduced the product and you've made sure that the customer fully understands it and that they're the right target persona for your customer, you want to ask, at what price point would you consider this product too expensive that you would not consider buying it? So you ask the too expensive question first. The second question you'd ask is, at what price point would you consider the product to be so cheap that you'd question its quality? The third question is, at what price point would you consider the product to be somewhat expensive? You know, you'd think it's like a little pricey for the price range and you'd have to think about it, but you might still consider buying it. And then the fourth question is, at what price point would you consider the product to be a bargain, a great deal for the money? And this is different from cheap. This is a good price for the money or a good value. So you ask these 4 questions in a row, and once you have enough data, you can actually make a plot. And the plot will allow you to determine the optimal price range. And I would say this is where you should consider starting your pricing, and I would actually lean toward the higher end of this, because you may be surprised that people have a willingness to pay that's a little bit higher than what you would think if you were going to potentially buy the product. Of course, that depends on the product itself and how good it is, but I would just lean toward pricing a little bit higher to start, and then you can always course correct over time. With my product, Bedtime Bulb, we ran some surveys where we collected over 8,000 data points about how people understand lighting and what they think about our product. And we found that most people would not be willing to pay more than $12 to $14 for the product. So when we initially launched the product, we priced it in that range at about $13. But over time, we decided to raise the price. And we not only found that more people bought it at a higher price, but we also found that we got better quality customers as we raised the price. And the product is already on the expensive side. So people that were going to complain at $20 are also the same people that are going to complain at $14. So you have to remember that you're not appealing to everyone with your product. If you are trying to appeal to everyone, you've got to go back to the drawing board. But within your target market, this is going to give you a good indication of where you should start your pricing, and then once you put it out on the market, you can consider raising the price and then see how many sales drop off or even gain at that point. Or you can lower the price if you don't think your sales are high enough. Now, in terms of collecting this information, it's going to depend on how you run your customer interviews. They could be totally anonymous with something like SurveyMonkey Audience or Google surveys, or you could be doing in-depth customer interviews where you sit down with the customer face-to-face and then you ask this at the end of your conversation. So that's all going to depend, but the important thing is to make sure that you're asking these specific questions, which I'll link below, and then making sure that you get an understanding of where most people stand on this. So I hope this information on pricing your e-commerce product was useful. If you have questions about entrepreneurship, selling on Amazon, selling something online, I'd love to hear your question below. Or if you'd like to do a more in-depth discussion, I have a link in the description to coaching calls where you can schedule 30 or 60 minutes with me and we can walk through your situation step by step. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.